The encounter on Velmara. The air on Velmara was thick with moisture, making it hard to breathe. Jared Holt wiped the sweat from his brow and adjusted his oxygen mask. The old, rusted wreckage of a derelict ship loomed before him, half buried in the strange, blue-tinged sand. "Come on, there's gotta be something valuable in here," he muttered to himself. Velmara was known for being dangerous, but it was also a scavenger's paradise. Old battle debris, forgotten alien technology, and the occasional high-grade weapon, all just waiting for someone desperate enough to claim them. Jared was exactly that kind of someone. He made his way through the shattered hull, his boots crunching softly against the metal. He scanned the dark interior with his flashlight, hoping for something worth selling. Then he heard it. A soft, almost musical hum. Jared froze. It wasn't mechanical. It was a voice. He turned sharply, his hand instinctively reaching for his sidearm. A figure moved in the shadows. For a moment, all he saw was the faint glow of luminescent markings running down a slender form. Then, as the figure stepped into the dim light, he saw her fully. A woman, no, not quite human. Her skin had a faint lavender hue, and bioluminescent veins shimmered along her arms and neck. Her silver hair was pulled back, and her piercing, violet eyes locked onto his. Jared's grip tightened on his weapon. The woman's gaze flickered to it, and she tensed. "Don't," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Jared hesitated. "Who are you?" She opened her mouth to answer. Then the explosion shook the ground beneath them. Jared was thrown off balance, crashing into the nearest wall. The sound of blaster fire echoed through the ruins. Someone was attacking. The woman gasped, eyes wide with panic. "They found me," she whispered. Jared barely had time to ask who before he saw them. A group of heavily armed bounty hunters stormed into the wreckage, their weapons glowing in the dim light. They weren't human, tall, reptilian creatures with plated armor and sharp, predatory eyes. The lead hunter raised his weapon. Jared barely thought, he just reacted. He grabbed the woman's arm and pulled her behind cover just as the first shot blasted past them. She gasped at the contact. Jared felt something pulse through him. A wave of sensation, like electricity, surged from his fingertips into his chest. His vision blurred for a fraction of a second. Then it was gone. But the woman was staring at him like he had just set the entire planet on fire. Her bioluminescent markings flared brightly. Her lips parted in shock. "What the hell was that?" Jared muttered, rubbing his hand as if it had been burned. She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed his wrist. And that's when he heard it. Not with his ears. But inside his mind. You are not supposed to exist." Jared's heart pounded. "What the?" Before he could finish, she pulled him to his feet. "Run," she said. And so they ran. The bounty hunters roared behind them, blasters firing, but Jared barely noticed. Because whatever had just happened between them, it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The bond that should not exist. The night sky of Velmara was thick with storm clouds, their deep blue currents flashing with eerie violet lightning. Jared Holt didn't have time to admire the view. He was too busy running for his life. Blaster fire seared past him, sending showers of molten rock into the air. The alien woman, Lyris, as she had briefly whispered her name, kept pace beside him, her breath quick but controlled. She moved with a grace that Jared could only describe as unnatural, dodging energy bolts before they even landed. They reached the edge of a jagged cliff, overlooking a valley filled with dense, glowing flora. Lyris didn't hesitate. She leaped over the edge. Jared swore under his breath but followed. His boots hit soft, bioluminescent moss, and he rolled to absorb the impact. Lyris landed perfectly, already moving. "Keep running," she commanded. Jared exhaled sharply but obeyed. Behind them, the bounty hunters hesitated at the top of the cliff, their weapons scanning for movement. Jared took the moment of reprieve to turn toward Lyris. "All right," he panted, hands on his knees. "I just risked my neck saving you. Now tell me, what the hell was that back there?" "That," he gestured to his arm. "That thing when I touched you." Lyris took a step back, her glowing markings dimming. "You shouldn't have done that." "Excuse me?" Her gaze was unreadable. "Velmarans, we bond through touch. It is involuntary. Sacred." She paused, swallowing hard. "But you are human. This should not be possible." Jared frowned. "Bond? What does that mean?" Lyris clenched her jaw, avoiding his gaze. "It means that, whether we like it or not, we are connected now." Jared stared at her. Then he laughed, short, disbelieving. "Oh, hell no." Lyris glared at him. "You think I want this?" "I don't know. But I definitely don't." The storm above rumbled, as if mirroring their tension. Then Jared felt something. A pressure in his mind. Like a whisper, just out of reach. His breath caught as the sensation intensified, a strange awareness creeping over him. He could feel something that wasn't his own emotion. Fear. Not his. Hers. He looked at Lyris in shock. What is this?" She closed her eyes, as if pained. "The bond." Jared shook his head. "No. No, no, no. We are not bonded. That's not a thing. I don't even know you. Do you think I wanted this?" Lyris snapped, her markings pulsing again. "This is irreversible, Jared Holt. Our lives are intertwined now. If you die, I die." Jared's stomach dropped. That has to be some kind of mistake." Lyris exhaled sharply. "Velmaran bonds do not make mistakes." Jared took a step back, running a hand through his hair. This was insane. But as much as he wanted to deny it, he could feel her. Not in a physical way, but something deeper. Her exhaustion. Her fear. Her uncertainty. It was in his mind, in his very bones. And that terrified him more than the bounty hunters hunting them. "Then we need to break it," he said firmly. Lyris laughed, but there was no humor in it. "There is no breaking it." Jared clenched his fists. He wasn't the kind of guy who got involved in other people's problems. And yet, here he was, bound to an alien he had just met with no way out. Then, another wave of sensation hit him. Danger. Jared tensed, just as an explosion tore through the jungle behind them. The bounty hunters had found them. Lyris grabbed his wrist. "We have to go." Jared didn't argue this time. They ran. But this time, he didn't just hear her voice beside him. He heard it in his mind. "If we are to survive, we must learn to fight together." And for the first time, Jared realized, he was no longer just himself. He was something more. And that was a problem he wasn't ready to face. Hunted across the stars. Jared Holt had been in plenty of bad situations before. He'd smuggled illegal goods past Federation patrols, outrun mercenaries who wanted his head, and survived a bar fight with a Zelvan warlord twice his size. But nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to being psychically bonded to an alien princess while being chased across a hostile planet by bounty hunters. The jungle around them was alive with glowing plants and strange sounds, but Jared barely noticed. His focus was on keeping up with Lyris. Or at least, he thought he was keeping up. In reality, she was pulling him along. "I can run on my own, you know," Jared grumbled as she dragged him deeper into the dense foliage. Lyris shot him a sharp glance. "You are too slow." Maybe if you didn't practically rip my arm off. She suddenly stopped, yanking him behind a thick, bioluminescent tree. She pressed a finger to her lips. Jared barely had time to process before he felt them. Not just heard, felt. A cold, crawling sensation ran down his spine, like fingers brushing the edges of his mind. It wasn't his own fear. It was hers. Through the bond, he could sense the hunters nearby before he even saw them. And when he finally did see them, he swore under his breath. 3 figures moved through the underbrush, their armor dark and sleek, designed for blending into the terrain. Their helmets obscured their faces, but Jared could see the faint glow of their visor displays. They were scanning for heat signatures. And getting closer. Lyris turned to him, her silver eyes sharp. Do not move. Jared held his breath as the bounty hunters passed within meters of their hiding spot. One of them stopped. Jared felt his heart hammer against his ribs. The hunter tilted their head, as if listening. Then, slowly, they reached for a device on their wrist. Lyris tightened her grip on Jared's arm. He could feel her pulse, fast and steady. The hunter pressed a button. A high-pitched ping filled the air. Lyris reacted instantly. She shoved Jared down as a blast of energy seared past their hiding spot, vaporizing the tree beside them. Jared hit the ground hard. Lyris was already moving. She launched herself at the nearest hunter with terrifying speed, her movements fluid and precise. Her fist connected with his helmet, sending him stumbling backward. Before he could recover, she grabbed his weapon and turned it on the others. Jared scrambled to his feet. One of the hunters was already aiming at Lyris. He didn't think. He moved. His body reacted before his mind did. In one fluid motion, he grabbed a rock from the ground and hurled it. It struck the second hunter in the side of the head, knocking him off balance. Lyris took advantage of the distraction, firing a clean shot. The hunter collapsed. Jared turned to face the last one, only to find a blaster barrel aimed directly at his face. He barely had time to swear before a shot rang out. Not from the hunter. From Lyris. The final bounty hunter fell, smoke rising from his armor. Silence followed. Jared let out a slow breath. That was way too close. Lyris didn't respond. She was staring at him, her expression unreadable. What? He asked. You moved before you saw them, she said softly. Jared frowned. What are you talking about? You felt them before they attacked. Jared opened his mouth to argue. Then he realized, she was right. He had known the hunter was aiming at Lyris before he even saw it. The same way he had sensed the ambush earlier. It wasn't luck. It was the bond. Jared swallowed hard. That's not normal, is it? Lyris shook her head. No. The bond should not work this way with a human. Jared rubbed a hand down his face. Great. So not only am I stuck with a psychic connection I never asked for, but now I'm somehow feeling what you feel? Lyris hesitated. It is more than that. Jared sighed. Oh, good. Because this wasn't weird enough already. Lyris ignored his sarcasm. The Velmaran bond is a sacred connection. It should be limited to emotions, sensations. She studied him. But you are reacting to me. Moving with me. That is unheard of. Jared didn't like the way she was looking at him, like he was some kind of puzzle she couldn't figure out. Well, he said, forcing a grin. First time for everything, huh? Lyris didn't smile. We must keep moving. More will come. Jared sighed but nodded. As they walked, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between them. The bond wasn't just a link between minds. It was changing him. And for the first time, he wondered, what if it wasn't just a connection? What if it was something more? The unbreakable bond. Jared had been through his share of desperate situations before, but being hunted across an alien jungle with a psychic princess had to take the prize for worst luck ever. The escape had bought them time, but not much. The bounty hunters weren't the kind to give up easily. More would come. Stronger ones. And Jared wasn't exactly equipped to take on an army. Lyris moved ahead of him, navigating through the jungle with an eerie grace. She hardly made a sound, while Jared kept stepping on roots, tripping over hidden vines, and cursing under his breath. "How much further?" he asked, swiping at a glowing insect that had taken an interest in his face. "Not far," Lyris murmured. She had said that an hour ago. Jared sighed. "You do have a plan, right?" Lyris didn't answer immediately. Then, finally, she said, "I need to reach the sacred temple ruins. If I can connect with the ancient core, I may be able to sever our bond." Jared came to a stop. "Wait. Sever the bond?" Lyris turned to face him, her silver eyes unreadable. "It was never meant to happen. It is dangerous for both of us." Jared frowned. "Yeah, I get that it's not ideal, but," he hesitated. "What happens if we break it?" Lyris' gaze flickered slightly. "I do not know." Jared exhaled. "Fantastic. So, what? We just risk brain damage and hope for the best." Lyris took a step closer. "You do not understand, Jared. This bond was never meant to exist between a Velmaran and a human. It is unnatural. Already, you are changing. You sense my presence, react before you should." She lowered her voice. "If it continues, you may become something else." Jared's stomach twisted. "Something else?" Lyris hesitated. "Velmaran bonding is sacred. When two of my kind connect in this way, they share more than thoughts. Their very essence begins to merge." Jared's pulse quickened. "So, what? I'll start growing silver eyes and psychic powers?" Lyris didn't answer. And that was what scared him the most. He ran a hand through his hair. "All right. So, what do we do when we get to the temple?" Lyris looked away. "I will channel the core's energy. It will break the connection." Jared studied her. "And you're sure it'll work?" "No." "Wow. Your confidence is inspiring." Lyris shot him an irritated glance, but Jared saw the tension in her shoulders. She wasn't as sure about this as she pretended to be. Before he could press further, something shifted in the air. Lyris tensed. Jared felt it too. A cold, creeping sensation down his spine. "We're not alone," he whispered. Lyris barely had time to react before a metallic whir sliced through the air. A net exploded from the trees, crackling with energy. Jared barely dodged in time, rolling out of the way. Lyris moved faster, twisting midair as the net caught only empty space. More figures emerged from the shadows, taller, heavier armored than the ones before. Jared cursed. "Great. Upgraded bounty hunters." One of them raised a sleek, high-tech rifle. Lyris moved before Jared even saw the shot coming, grabbing his wrist and yanking him to the side. The ground where he stood exploded in a flash of red light. Lyris spun, her hands glowing with faint blue energy. Jared had seen her fight before, but never like this. She wasn't just dodging, she was predicting every movement, reacting before the hunters even pulled their triggers. Jared felt it too. A strange, instinctive awareness. One of the hunters aimed at him. Jared ducked before the shot was fired. His heart pounded. It was the bond. It was getting stronger. Lyris knocked out one attacker, twisting his weapon from his grip and using it against the others. Jared, for his part, managed to grab a fallen blaster and fire a few shots, mostly missing, but at least providing a distraction. Within seconds, it was over. The bounty hunters lay unconscious. Lyris was breathing hard, her hands still glowing faintly. Jared stared at her. Okay. That was not normal. Lyris exhaled slowly. It is getting worse. Jared wiped sweat from his forehead. You mean better, right? Because if I just got super reflexes, I'm not exactly complaining. Lyris shook her head. You do not understand. The bond is not simply granting you abilities. It is rewriting you. Jared felt a shiver crawl up his spine. Rewriting. Come, Lyris said. We must move before more come. Jared hesitated, then followed. He didn't know what was happening to him. But he had a feeling that, by the time they reached the temple, he wouldn't be the same person anymore. The final choice. Jared's lungs burned as he sprinted behind Lyris. The temple ruins loomed ahead, massive stone structures covered in glowing alien inscriptions. The air itself felt charged with energy, buzzing with an unnatural hum. They had made it. But Jared wasn't sure he wanted to be here. Every step forward sent another wave of strange sensations through his body. His awareness of Lyris was no longer just a vague presence, it was inside him, woven into his thoughts, his heartbeat, his very being. And it terrified him. Lyris climbed the temple's broken steps, her movements precise, controlled. But Jared could sense the hesitation in her mind. The uncertainty. She wasn't sure this would work. He swallowed hard. Lyris. Before we do this, he hesitated. Are you sure breaking the bond is the right choice? Lyris froze mid-step. Slowly, she turned to face him, her silver eyes searching his. You do not understand, she whispered. If we do not break it, you will not remain human. Jared let out a shaky breath. Yeah, but, is that really so bad? Lyris stiffened. Jared took a step forward. Look, I get that this wasn't supposed to happen. But we survived because of it. I survived because of you. He exhaled. I'm not saying I want to lose myself. But if this bond is rewriting me, then maybe it's not just taking. Maybe it's giving me something too. Lyris looked away, her jaw tightening. You do not know what you are saying. Jared felt frustration build. Then explain it to me. Because all I know is that, ever since this started, I've felt, he stopped himself. Took a deep breath. I've felt connected. To something bigger. To you. Lyris clenched her fists. That is the danger. Jared ran a hand through his hair. So what happens if we break it? What happens to you? Lyris flinched. And suddenly, Jared understood. This bond isn't just affecting me, is it? His voice was quiet. It's changing you too. Lyris remained silent. Jared took another step closer. You feel it, don't you? It's not just a connection. It's something deeper. Lyris squeezed her eyes shut, as if trying to block out his words. Jared exhaled. You don't want to break it. The truth hung between them, unspoken. Lyris opened her eyes, and for the first time, Jared saw something raw beneath her cold exterior. Fear. Not of the bond. But of losing it. Jared's heart pounded. Lyris, we have a choice. Lyris hesitated, her breath uneven. The temple is ready. If we activate the core, the bond will be severed. Jared studied her. And if we don't? Lyris looked at him then, really looked at him. And Jared saw the war within her. Duty. Fear. Longing. Finally, she whispered, then we will be bound forever. Jared took a shaky breath. He thought about everything that had happened. Every impossible moment. Every time the bond had saved them. And every time he had felt something more. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about them. Jared reached out, gently taking her hand. Lyris didn't pull away. Instead, she whispered, "What are we, Jared?" Jared tightened his grip. "I don't know," he admitted. "But maybe, we don't need to fight it." Lyris stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, her fingers intertwined with his. And just like that, the choice was made. The bond would remain. And whatever came next, they would face it together.